Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up now. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up tonight. We gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We gonna light it up now.
Better? Hold on. Okay, now it's on. I don't know why that was doing that. Oh, it was like not plugged in. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And that was a really good intro. That was a good intro. I know I have to repeat it. I never look at the chat when I'm doing like my, like, you know, when I'm saying like hello in the beginning, because I'm always where the music is, so I can turn the music off. And yeah, so take two. So sorry about that. Oh my gosh. And I should have looked down and realized that my mic wasn't on by like it's not lit up, but I didn't think about it. So Welcome in. So sorry about that. You know, that's just my grand entrance. So if you stuck around, thank you so much for that. Sorry about that. But my name is Tanya. Welcome to the show, or you can call me TitaniumBuilt, either or. I don't care. But if you guys don't mind, take a second, hit the like button, even though I totally screwed up the beginning. I was even off of mute. I made sure I was off of mute and I still got it wrong. But I really would appreciate that if you guys could take a second. It just gets us into the algorithm and more people will come in and check out the video. I don't know why we have to do that in the beginning because like, why can't we just do it throughout the live? But if you could do it throughout the live, I would appreciate that. So if you would like to support the channel and become a member, we would love that too. And I'll put the channel membership link in the chat throughout the live for you guys. So I did pin the StreamYard link if anyone wants to come up and hang out and like talk about the case, or if you have any news you want to talk about, I'm perfectly cool with that. I do have, oh, you can't see it, but I have my red microphone. Well, yeah, you can. My red microphone on for, you know, Valentine's Day. Hopefully, we'll have an awesome Valentine's Day. And then look at my t-shirt. It says, well, you can't see it, but it says love on it. And I thought, you know, we need a little of that on the YouTube streets right now. So got this shirt and I got it in a hoodie too. So you'll see the hoodie probably tomorrow. But yeah. So yeah, I know, Ashley, I was going to say something about that. They finally got a, you know, enough jurors for the Megyn Boswell case. We have a lot of stuff to cover. We have a lot to go over. I didn't realize, like, I want to go over, there's Ruby Frankie. There's all kinds of stuff. So actually I have some in my notes. Let me see. There was another one I was going to tell you about. But it's good to see everybody in chat. I see you guys. Good to see you guys. Thanks to the mods for being here. Thanks to the members for being here. Thank you for the subscribers, and thanks to the new people that just come in and, you know, join us for a new chat. Oh, this is what I was going to tell you. Okay, so Ellen Greenberg's case. We're going to go over this tomorrow. I don't know. We may have to do a couple lives. I want to do a chili live though on my other channel, make chili. So I don't know. Might do that. Then maybe we'll have to do that not tomorrow, but the next day. But Ellen Greenberg, if you're not following that case with us, you should be. She supposedly stabbed herself 20 times. They ruled her death a suicide. Her parents have been fighting tooth and nail. They have been fighting up to the Supreme Court to get this reversed. Finally, another medical examiner has looked at Ellen and like the paperwork. I don't know what exactly they looked at, but they did another autopsy. They did another, all of that, and they ruled it a homicide. So it is now ruled a homicide. Her family, I cannot believe they were able that. I mean, they're incredible parents. So yeah, remember the one in the back, and I have the knife, the same knife. Like I own that knife. Yeah, that case. So we're gonna go over that because tomorrow, because that's just oh my gosh, like that's huge, you know. Your TV won't show chat. I don't know. Does it usually show chat? I've never been on the TV whenever I've done, like, I've never been on YouTube and on TV, like watched it on the TV. I don't know why. I always thought about putting myself on there just to see what I'd look like on TV, but I never do. And if you're a YouTuber and you've never done that, don't you say you wouldn't. But welcome in, everybody. Yes, Sailor Outlaw. It's good to see you. Hey, Kiwi. And thanks for sticking around, guys. I'm sorry you couldn't hear me. It's like every time I've been like going live, I've noticed that I've had to like unplug my mic and plug it back in. So maybe I need a new cord. It's a really good cord. I remember like, I mean, you can, I just remember Vincent was like, this is a really nice cord, and it is. So hopefully it's not too expensive. I don't think it'll be too expensive for a cord. And it'll give us an excuse to go to Micro Center. I like the geeky store. Vincent took me there one time and I was like, this place is weird. And now I love it. So good to see everybody. We'll go ahead and we're going to get started. We have some news, actually, an update in in this case, and Idaho 4. So a new document came out in this case, and I thought that we would go over it because it's kind of a big deal. I think, anyway, I think it's a big deal. So I'm going to read the document to you guys, and then we'll go over a little article that has it kind of summarized what exactly it means. Because the judge is going to be unsealing Bryan Kohberger's mental health history. He sees no reason for it to be sealed any longer. And not only are they going to unseal Bryan's mental health history, they are going to unseal his family's mental health history. I've never heard that before in my life. I've never heard that. I didn't know you could do that. I mean, I know in trial, there's a way that you can get people's mental health history, like the defendant, but, and that's not going against HIPAA, but the family, I've never heard of that. So we'll see what happens. The judge is going to put out an order soon. He hasn't put out that order yet. We're still waiting on it, but he's put this one out. So this is the order unsealing stipulated motion for sealed protective order and the sealed protective order. You know how they'll put in evidence and then they seal it. So that's how we know, because the date that it was for the mental health. Says previously the court sealed the following filings in this case at the request of the parties. Stipulated motion for sealed protective order filed January 13th, 2025, and sealed protective order filed January 15th, 2025. After reviewing the matter with the parties, the court could find no compelling basis to maintain these documents as sealed filings. Therefore, it is ordered, and it does order, that the two filings referenced herein shall be unsealed by the clerk of court. The court's prior January 13th, 2025 order sealing the documents is hereby vacated. So I don't know when they're going to come out with the documents. I don't know when those will come out, but I'm going to be sitting here with a refresh, for the next, until it comes out. I will never sleep. I won't sleep. I'm pretty excited to see what they say. Well, so then we have over here, the mental health history of accused killer Bryan Kohberger will be unsealed according to a judge's ruling. After reviewing the matter with the parties, the court could find no compelling basis to maintain these documents as sealed filings. The January 30th ruling by Judge Stephen Hippler states, Kohberger is accused of stabbing to death 4 University of Idaho students, Kaylee Goncalves, 21, Madison Megyn, 21, Xander Cornoto, 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20. The attack occurred at an off-campus house the morning of November 13th, 2022. At the time of the incident, Kohberger was a PhD criminology student at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, located about 8 miles from the crime scene. The mental health history of Kohberger and his family have been previously sealed in 2 separate motions. The new ruling vacates those orders and should allow the release of the material to the public. Kohberger's trial is scheduled to begin at the end of July with jury selection. The trial will be in Boise, Idaho, after defense attorneys successfully argued for a change of venue. So, I don't know. As far as we're seeing, it's going to be some sort of mental health filings or, history. I don't know exactly what it'll say or what it'll be. I'm sure they'll redact some of it, maybe all of it. Who knows? But I'll keep my eye out, literally my eye out for that. And we'll see. So, tonight I thought we would kind of dig and not dig, but kind of just go into the mind of Bryan Kohberger, because there was a couple of videos that came out, and there was actually a lot of videos that came out that talked about him having visual snow and his weight problems, and then him, being on drugs and then coming off of drugs, him, putting out the surveys before the murders. So I thought that we would watch 1 or 2 videos over it. I have a couple, and then we'll do an update at the end if there's any more updates. But I'm going to let you guys decide which video we watch. We might watch them both tonight, but if we have time, if not, we'll watch just one tonight. But I'm gonna let you know which ones they are. So if you want, number one is going to be a Fox Nation special that has Mark Furman, and he has like a panel of experts, and they just like kind of like go over the timeline of Bryan Kohberger's life, I guess you could say. Or choice number two will be Megyn Kelly, and she delves deep into Bryan Kohberger's past like online post and talks about him growing up, like up until now. And she does like a lot of the postings, and she'll talk about the rap song and all of that. His rap song. So put a 1 for the Fox special, put a 2 for Megyn Kelly. I'll let you all decide. One, okay. Okie dokie. We'd always start there, and then we can always do 2 also. So, okay. We've actually seen these probably before. I mean, before we have, but it's been forever and a day. I don't know about Megyn Kelly. I don't know if we've actually watched that because we didn't really watch Megyn Kelly a whole lot during this case. We watched her a couple times, but like, I don't know. I didn't really prefer her during Idaho's case. I don't know. She's very, I don't know. She's something. So let me try to go all the way back to the beginning. There we go. So we're going to watch this. It's called Savage Instincts, The Mind of Bryan Kohberger. Delve into the psyche of suspected murderer Bryan Kohberger. Okay. We don't mind if we do. So thanks for being here. We'll pause it here and there, for to commentate and everything. But if you guys don't mind, just take a second, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We are going to do a really good giveaway when we hit 20,000 subscribers. We're going to do like smaller giveaways before then, but we're going to do a really big giveaway once we hit 20,000. So I know there was something else I wanted to do with you guys, or we said we were going to do. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. If I can't remember, we'll think of something else to do. But this picture right here is beautiful with the snow. Like the house, the red house, and then the snow on it. Hey, Naomi, welcome in. Hey, Buttercup, welcome in, everybody. It's good to see you guys.
For 7 weeks, the town of Moscow, Idaho remained on high alert.
The Moscow, Idaho killer who slaughtered these 4 students in the prime of their lives is out there somewhere at this hour.
Students are facing imminent fear right now and are fleeing campus because of that.
Please just turn yourself in. Please don't make these families.
Until finally, the tides turned.
The suspect in the slaying of 4 University of Idaho students was apprehended. 28-year-old grad student Bryan Kohberger was taken into custody in Pennsylvania.
He had no prior record, no connection to the victims, no plausible motive, but Moscow police were certain they got their guy. Who is Bryan Kohberger? What makes him tick?
I think he was sinister for quite some time.
This is difficult, getting inside the mind of someone like this.
This type of person is actually born.
Although police say they have quite a lot of evidence against him, he remains confident that he's going to be exonerated.
He definitely had an ego and wanted to wield that.
One of the basic tenets of an antisocial personality is lying and deception.
Does anybody think this wasn't his first murder?
That's a good question. Do you guys think that he had committed a murder before this one? Or other than the cell phone, like stealing his sister's cell phone or whatever, and then like selling it, do you think he did anything else other than that? I think he might have. Not like killed anyone, but I think that he might have, I think he did a lot of stuff before the phone to get caught with the phone and get the cops involved. Usually you have to do some things before your parents really call the law on you. You know what I mean? Like you got to be doing some things for a while, in my opinion. So they might have been just like little things like, bothering his sisters, torturing his sisters. I don't know. But I do think he might have been doing something beforehand, like stealing, maybe stealing money from his parents, just like things like that. you know, not like maybe like stuff that's technically, like where they're going to, like the law would be involved, but they could get the law involved. If that makes sense.
We all know there are evil people in the world, but how did they get that way? It's a question that has fascinated scholars, criminologists, and psychologists for decades. Some argue that certain individuals possess inherent traits that make them more prone to violent behavior. Others believe that environmental factors, upbringing, and life experiences are to blame. While this nature versus nurture debate may truly never be settled, it forces us to explore what drives certain individuals to kill. In this special, we're going to evaluate suspected murderer Bryan Kohberger on a psychological level. We'll investigate his background, his behavior, and his actions the night of the crime. Our goal is not to determine his guilt or innocence. Only a jury of his peers can do that. It's simply to see if he fits the profile of someone capable of taking 4 innocent lives and ask the larger question, are killers born or made? Today I have on the panel 3 experts that are going to help us better understand Bryan Kohberger. To my right is clinical forensic psychologist Craig Wetterer. We have Jason Jensen, criminal profiler, Dana Anderson, forensic psychologist. So to start this off, I think we need to go back to the time when these murders occurred. So at 2 weeks, we knew some particulars about the crime scene. We knew some of the positioning. So tell me what all that said to you as far as the type of criminal actually committed this crime.
It appeared that this was
Brazen.
an organized, premeditated attack where somebody entered the home, made their way up to the 3rd floor, encountered 2 women. I believe one of the 2 women, either Maddie or Kaylee, were the intended target.
Okay, so I have a question about this. Okay, I was thinking about this earlier. If Kaylee was the intended target, right? Let's say Kaylee was the intended target. A lot of people thought that in the beginning, that it was Kaylee and all that. He would probably know which room was hers. I'm guessing, right? Just taking a guess. And he probably went into that room first. And he would have seen that she wasn't in her bed. What would then change his whole direction from only unaliving one person to then saying, oh, I'm going to go find Kaylee? Does that make sense? Like, so I'm going to go find Kaylee. I'm going to go look in Maddie's room and see if she's in there. Him knowing if he goes in that room and finds Kaylee and Maddie in there, he's going to have to unalive both of them because, they're going to fight. Does that make sense? Like, I mean, if he was there, I don't think Kaylee was the intended target, because I think that he would have walked in her room, saw her little dog there or whatever, and been like, oh, she's not even here. But in my opinion, I still think she slept in her bed that night. But I do think that Maddie was the intended target. And I was just thinking of that earlier with the thing about Kaylee. I was like, why would he go looking around for her then? You know what I mean? Like, I would just slither my ass back out of that house and come back another night or something when you knew that she was going to be there for sure. Or, I know she was moving, so that would have been kind of hard. But if there are 2, points of entry, and even if you're parked in the back of the house, you won't be able to see the front door to see if somebody were to leave.
And it was not expected that both would be in the same room.
As forensic psychologists, what kind of a person goes into an inhabited dwelling with a knife thinking that they're going to be successful?
Well, one of the first things that I thought about was who could have the physical stamina to do such a thing, like to actually stab multiple people.
That takes quite a bit of bravado to be able to enter a residence, possibly not knowing how many people are in there. So psychologically, this is somebody who seems to have overconfidence.
No matter what prompted the killer to enter 1122 Kings Road on that cold November night, he must have had a plan. Or did he? In the world of profiling, we have two descriptions, organized and disorganized. So in your opinion, what is he, organized or disorganized?
Well, I think maybe it started as an organized offense, but it quickly became disorganized.
I totally agree with you. Dana, do you agree with that assessment?
We're looking at periods of time where he was allegedly surveillancing, right? He was in the area. So he was thinking about this for some time in his mind.
Bryan Kohberger's cell phone pinged 12 times near the house in the weeks and months before the killing. According to police, that could possibly indicate the stalking of one or more of the victims by Kohberger and possibly the planning of those brutal killings.
And he was organizing himself. He was thinking it through. He's probably rehearsing it in his head. And maybe he wanted to commit the perfect crime.
Clearly, we had premeditation. He felt like he had everybody mapped out, figured out who would be in what room. By the time he got there, he just sees the lights go out in Maddie's room, thinking Maddie's in the room all by herself. But when he goes in there and encounters two, I think that's when it all fell apart.
Well, does everybody agree that he went up to Maddie's room intentionally, that she was most probably the target?
Yes.
Yeah.
But where did Kohberger first meet Maddie? Some say it could have been at a local restaurant where she and Xana both worked as servers. I think there's a possibility he was obsessed with Maddie. There's a possibility he went into the restaurant. There's a possibility there was an exchange. There was a conversation. There could have been an advance. There could have been a compliment that was rebuffed or laughed at.
It was someone that they knew, somebody that they desired. I felt it was a stalker situation. He waited till all the occupants were home and the lights went out.
When he went up there, it's dimly lit. He's dressed in black. He's holding a knife in his right hand. We know he's right-handed. And it's November. The girls are both in bed, but they're not lying in bed with no covers on. So you have a lump that you believe is your intended victim. And during that attack, Kaylee wakes up. The attack on her was more violent and more hands-on and more facial. So the fight was on. But in party houses like this one, noise, even at 4 a.m., wasn't that out of the ordinary. Dylan, one of the surviving roommates, said she was awoken by the scuffle, but thought it was Kaylee playing with her dog. He was trying to get out of there, and Xana came out of her room and confronted him. So how does that go into the psychology of somebody at the scene, and how does it go into the profiling? You know, you can make the decision, okay, she sees me, but I've got a mask on and I'm all black. Tell me why attack her, and then why a sleeping Ethan Chapin in bed? Why attack him? Where's the mindset?
So it depends on.
I would probably say he didn't want to leave any witnesses, although he's covered, you know, or he was just in a frenzy.
Whether we're dealing with a psychopath. I've interviewed a lot of murderers, and many of the crimes that are committed are disorganized and they escalate, right? So the initial intention is not to kill, but it turns into that because they panic. They feel like, I'm all in now. I'm already going to get caught.
Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan had died at the hands of a crazed monster. But for some reason, Dylan and their roommate, Bethany, were spared.
There was a chilling statement.
I think he may not have seen Dylan. Like, when you're in that, when you go into like the mock house and you can turn the lights out and you can just see what she saw, I think that he may have been too busy looking for that step down, because there's like that 4-inch step down right there in front of Dylan's room, to where maybe he was looking at that and not paying attention to her, or maybe he was just exhausted. I mean, that would be, you would have to have incredible strength, I would feel like, to unalive 4 people with a knife. Like, I think that would take really a lot of strength.
From a roommate of the
Especially
4
different
victims
floors.
who said on the night of the murders she had heard noises from her roommate's room, crying, and then a male voice saying, quote, "It's okay, I'm going to help you."
Wonder why they were going on the side of the house like that. Like, and also like Bethany's window and on the corner there, the forensic team was taking like, prints or doing something there. I'm telling you, he might have went through that front door.
Somebody just savagely stabbed and sliced to death 2 young women. Wait, I can help you. What's he trying to do? How do you elevate to that kind of a homicide and then de-escalate to a calm voice? No, wait, I can help you. What's he doing?
So ominous when I heard that statement. And I think about the time when he applied to be a security guard officer and the time he applied to work at the police station. You're in a position of power and authority. Think about that.
Is that a key factor with this type of a suspect, power and
Oh,
authority?
power and control for sure, especially if rape was the initial intent. We have power rapists and power and control are primary drivers for rape. It's not about the sex, it's about the power and the control over somebody else.
If power and control were his motivation, why didn't he kill the other 2 roommates, Dylan and Bethany? Did he not know they were there?
According to new unsealed filings in the gruesome Idaho murders, one of the 2 surviving roommates came face to face with the killer, who was wearing a black mask, in the early hours of November the 13th, before the roommate then locked herself in a room.
This is a teenage girl who was traumatized and most likely paralyzed in fear. And it's a miracle that she was not murdered.
I don't believe she opened the door and was standing there face to face with the suspect. I think she opened the door, saw the suspect, and I'm not sure the suspect knew that she saw him. As news of the quadruple homicide rippled through the nation, the killer's weapon of choice took many by surprise.
With the autopsies completed, the coroner has confirmed 4 homicides, all victims stabbed to death, were told likely with the same knife, possibly something like this K-bar tactical knife with a 6-inch blade commonly issued by the military.
Why a Marine Corps K-bar? Even if you're interested in the military, there's a lot of other knives that they use. It's very much a utility knife. You could chop a small tree down with it, cut firewood, you can dig holes, you can do anything with it. It's pretty indestructible. In my life, I've done some training with knives, and this would be the last knife that you would use in close quarters in this situation. There's 100 other knives that would be better suited. So, in my opinion, is the K-bar symbolic? According to reports, Kohberger purchased a K-bar knife on Amazon in April of 2022, 7 months before the crime took place.
If it was part of the ultimate plan, he was thinking about this well before he even moved to Pullman.
There was one movie that not only actually showed a K-bar for about 15 minutes, but they were showing training, and he's showing exactly where to attack a human being. The right side, liver, lung, throat. I mean, you wonder if it is somehow symbolic to him of power and manhood and all the things that he wanted to be that he wasn't. Just who is Bryan Kohberger? What had his life been before he had moved to Washington?
Everyone kind of over magnifying that he's this PhD student. But who was Bryan Kohberger way before this? he had a substance abuse problem. Stole his sister's cell phone. He took it to the mall and he cashed it out, made a couple $100, probably because he wanted to get high. And now we're here. Well, I'm sure there's a lot that went on in between time.
Well, he had probably 12 years of progression from the time he was getting involved with drugs. And I guess the question is does anybody think this wasn't his first murder?
Well, it's hard to know. I have seen cases in which an individual commits 4 murders all at once, like a spree killing, and there wasn't evidence that they had committed any other crimes. We don't know what else he has done in the past because many crimes go unsolved.
Why would he apply to be a police officer, right? I don't think his intentions were good.
Actually, there's been several serial killers and murderers that have gotten in those positions.
They have.
And he wanted to be in a position like that where he'd be seen as more superior or intelligent, right? And you're in that position. And those positions also demand respect. And he was seeking that.
During Kohberger's time at DeSales University, he studied under forensic psychologist Catherine Ramsland, who wrote a book about serial killer BTK, who also worked in law enforcement. Ramsland and BTK have been in touch for over a decade as he serves 10 consecutive life sentences. The one case that they keep coming back to is BTK. And the irony with BTK is his first victim, he stalked, surveilled, planned, calculated. He went in the back door and there was the whole family there. Now you'd think, I'm just going to make an excuse, back out and say, oh, I came into the wrong house. No, he killed all 4. And to me, that is the one connection to BTK.
Well, I would think because he studied BTK, he was trying to learn how to commit that crime and just one up BTK.
Let's compare him to some other people. You know, people have kicked around Ted Bundy. I'm not impressed with the comparison myself.
And you'll notice that with Ted Bundy, this grandiosity and this sort of bravado and arrogance that a psychopath has.
Sorry. I didn't realize I was muted. Okay, so right here it says, Bryan Kohberger says he was stargazing during the Idaho murders. Bryan Kohberger's alibi, I was stargazing. Bryan Kohberger, he was stargazing. Bryan Kohberger's strength of stargazing alibi. He said he was stargazing that night. He absolutely said he was stargazing. Now let me see. I didn't share the tab with you, but right here. I don't know why the tab didn't share, but yeah. Stargazing alibi is attempt to muddy the waters. He said he was out stargazing that night. Weird, I know, because there was no stars out that night.
Very intelligent, but he talked, would give interviews. I don't see that with Bryan Kohberger.
He's not a serial killer. This was his only.
They don't need to put it in the PCA.
Definitely made enough mistakes for a beginner.
They didn't know that at the time. What are you talking about? The indictment, the PCA? They didn't know. He didn't have Van Taylor's attorney yet. This didn't come out. It wouldn't be in the PCA. That was years ago.
However, was leaving a crucial piece of evidence at the crime scene. The sheath to the K-bar knife.
Kohberger's DNA was found on a knife sheath left next to one of the victim's bodies. Police then matched that DNA to trash from the suspect's family home in Pennsylvania.
Does it kind of bother you that if he wouldn't have been so stupid as to leave his DNA in a knife sheath, drive his own car, and other complete screw-ups that he made, that you three might be talking to this guy on a case?
He might have been a professor, teaching in a criminology program.
What a sick guy he was. Someone that was a criminal justice major, master's, getting his PhD, and he thought because he studied criminals that he was going to be able to get away with what he did.
But Kohberger's teaching stint wasn't going quite so smoothly.
In the doctoral program that he was in at Washington State University, he was having quite a bit of difficulty in his student teaching roles.
He's not a people person. Wasn't he the guy that I'm going to go into any room and I'm going to prove I'm the smartest guy here?
That's what other students had reported. This suggests that there's elements of narcissism going on here. Need for power, need for admiration, grandiosity, those sorts of things.
He definitely had an ego and wanted to wield that.
Did Kohberger's narcissism develop once he got a taste of power in his TA position? Or had this always been part of his identity?
The investigation begins now. And as it relates to this guy Kohberger, now that he is out there as the defendant, the issue is, what did he say? Who did he hang out with? You know, when he was in school, did he talk about doing this kind of thing as a criminal justice major? He was interested in what the criminal was thinking when a criminal committed a violent crime. So there's all kinds of additional evidence that will be gathered at this point going forward.
There is a genetic relationship to the development of a personality disorder, but there's the epigenetic crest. So what we mean by that is, yes, one may have a genetic vulnerability to develop an antisocial personality disorder. Not everybody develops an antisocial personality disorder. Depending on their environment, depending on how they're shaped, depending on who influences them.
But how do you identify them? And once you identify them, what's society going to do about it? Incarcerate them? No.
The biggest problem with personality pathology generally is that people with personality disorders generally don't go for help. They generally don't get treatment because they don't think there's a problem. The problem is not them. The problem is you.
They refuse to see themselves for who they really are. They are so out of touch with their own psychology. They do not understand themselves. And if you attempt to give them any feedback, they can feel so deeply wounded.
Isn't that kind of the starter kit for a serial killer? We can't have any rules in society that I can't break because I'm smarter, better, and more privileged, and I should be able to do this.
The rules don't apply to them.
Exactly.
And so like Kohberger, the rules, that's nice. Not for me.
Breaking tonight, murder suspect Bryan Kohberger landed late tonight in Idaho to face charges.
Investigators say the evidence against Bryan Kohberger speaks volumes, even if the accused killer had little to say in court today.
The maximum penalty for this offense, if you were to plead guilty or be found guilty, is death or imprisonment for life. Do you understand?
Yes.
You watch him in court. You see his demeanor. Can you give us any labels to what you would say, if I had to say Bryan Kohberger is?
Well, from the available data and information that's out there, some of those elements of narcissism, I don't know, Dana, do you agree, or do you think that there's other personality traits that might be present as well?
It'll be interesting to see if he consents to being evaluated. Most typically, we come in at the beginning. If their defense attorney says, I don't think this guy understands what's happening, and then a court-appointed forensic psychologist will evaluate the defendant in custody.
Although it's unknown if Kohberger has ever been diagnosed with mental illness, a series of online posts written during his teenage years indicate his battle with visual snow syndrome, of which depression and anxiety are often cited as symptoms. Visual snow can also cause individuals to see static-like dots, but it's unclear if that applied to Kohberger.
Hallucinations are generally rare in genuine psychotic disorders. We don't see that frequently.
What's the connection between I have visual snow to murdering 4 kids with a knife? How does that solve your visual snow?
Yeah, I don't know how that would have any impact or bearing at all.
He could have this. It could be connected to a psychiatric
Well, if it's possible, that would require a full, psychological evaluation where we're going to be administering some standardized testing.
Although Kohberger's social media was scrubbed by police shortly after he was taken into custody, His SoundCloud account remained online. The account is listed as belonging to Bryan.
Now, you guys don't get too excited about this song, okay? Don't get too excited because Bryan was a rapper. Bryan was a rapper. If you don't believe me, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear a little bit of it.
In Effort, Pennsylvania, and shares the same username that Kohberger previously used on the Mental Health Forum.
Eagles going louder than my motherfucking beagle, and your life you get no sequel. Leave your loved ones crying like some seagulls. You are not my equal, you are equal, but I'm feeble.
Do these lyrics give us an insight into his state of mind? Have his feelings of angst and rage continued to fester or even intensify all these years?
You look at people who have engaged in acts of extreme violence, you take a look at some of the psychological dimensions and variables of these individuals. Oftentimes they're seen as socially awkward. Sometimes they're on the autism spectrum. Many times they're not. They have difficulty in establishing intimate relationships with opposite gender.
Things aren't going well in their life. They're totally impaired. They're in a
They
not
totally
good
should.
mental state.
Even if Kohberger is found to have a psychotic disorder, he's unable to use that to his advantage if he's found guilty. Idaho is one of the country's 4 states that does not have an insanity defense.
Generally, defense attorneys are reluctant to use that defense unless they've got clear evidence that this person has a psychotic disorder, a genuine mental illness that we have good data to support. You have to approach what they say with suspicion. The basic tenets of an antisocial personality is lying and deception.
No, that's him actually rapping. That's his SoundCloud. So that wasn't his Spotify. That was him rapping. Oh, Kohberger. That was his song. This is the end of it.
So in closing, I just want to thank you all. You've educated me in a lot of areas that I actually had questions. There's going to be a lot more to talk about, and we're going to see what evidence they have, and we're going to be able to actually nail down, is Bryan Kohberger the murderer of 4 college students, or is he not?
Okay, so we can watch another video after this one, kind of based off of the same, thing. Is this the mindset of Bryan Kohberger? There are other videos on Fox Nation. I saved the subscription. So I got the subscription back when Nancy Grace was on there for Idaho. And I swear I've canceled it, but it just doesn't go away. Like, will not let me cancel it, apparently. So we have it. So we can watch those other ones as well as we go through, because we're kind of just like going through the timeline. So, but right now, tonight, we're going into like the mind of Bryan Kohberger in a way. And then in this next video, it's Megyn Kelly. She delves more into like the social media post, the Reddit post, the inside looking, if he was, any of the people that were out there putting out information. So I thought we watched that one. I think we have some time. So yeah, we've got time. Hey, Nash Native, welcome on in. And welcome on in, everybody. It's good to see everybody. It's good to see you guys. If you guys don't mind, I know I'm a pain in the ass, but if you don't mind taking a second, hitting the like button, it really does help the channel. Just don't hit it twice, just hit it once. Okay. So Megyn Kelly, it's about 36 minutes long, so it's not too long. And she does commercials, so it'll be less time than that. I think I'm going to start doing that in my lives. Just spitting out a couple commercials right in the middle of it. I'm just kidding. Wouldn't that be funny though if I did like a commercial, but it was for like my own store? That would make people mad. That would get people fired up. Don't promote your boutique, heaven forbid.
Stuck in the depths of my mind, where I have to constantly battle my demons. Am I here or am I fake? I feel myself slipping away. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly, and welcome to episode 3 of a special edition of the show focused on the fascinating and disturbing case of Bryan Kohberger and the quadruple murder in a sleepy college Idaho town last year. We started the week diving into the gruesome stabbings and got to know the victims a bit. Yesterday, we walked through how Kohberger was identified and the incredible series of events that led to his arrest. Today, we take a look at who Bryan Kohberger is, the man accused of this barbaric crime, atrocities which he denies having anything to do with. As we bring you that story, we are thrilled to rely in part on the fantastic writing and reporting by journalist and author Howard Bloom, who covered the Idaho murders in great detail for Airmail News. Bloom's forthcoming book on the case will be published in the spring by HarperCollins. Hey, subscribe to the show on YouTube and or text MEGYN to 65532. Bryan Christopher Kohberger is 28 years old, but the quotes I read you at the beginning of this episode are from way back in 2011, when he was just 16. It has been reported by multiple outlets, including Bloom in Airmail, that Kohberger wrote often on an early social media platform called Tapatalk. He described a condition he had.
Did anybody in here, has anyone ever heard of Tapatalk prior to this case? Because I have no idea what Tapatalk is. I'm older than Bryan. Maybe that's why, but do you guys, does anyone know what Tapatalk is? Nope. Yeah, he's 30 now. Yeah, this is an old episode. Yeah, I didn't hear. I've never heard about it either. I went from was it ICQ to AOL. You can't forget that. Old school chat rooms. To ICQ, to MySpace, to Facebook, and then on and on. So yeah, I've never heard of it. I was so surprised that somebody would dig deep enough to where they were in a Tapatalk account. I mean, that's some sleuthing right there.
Or claim to have, known as visual snow. It's something I discussed with Bloom when he was a guest on the Megyn Kelly Show in March. Watch.
Doctors can't even agree on whether visual snow is a psychological state or a disease. And since they can't agree on what it is, they also differ on how to treat it or if it can be treated. What the best sources I found for any insight into this are really in novels. Camus' The Stranger opens up with a character who talks about feeling nothing that eventually leads to a murder on the beach. Sartre in one of his novels, writes about a character that has the same sort of disassociation from the world. It's it's existentialism on one level, and it's also dislocation from the world on another. And if everything means less than zero, as Elvis Costello sings, then you can do anything. Anything is then justified because it doesn't matter.
From Bloom's reporting, they are the raw, bedeviling forces that drove him, he explains, to contemplate suicide. They are the painful demons, he wails to a friend, that drove him to search for a sort of relief by mainlining heroin. And at the root of all his swirling emotions, he diagnoses in the online postings with an unwavering certainty, is visual snow. Visual snow is a rare but very real.
It's still around. Social networking, Tapatalk. 200,000 plus forums.
Real and chronic neurological condition. To those who suffer from it, the world is viewed through a glass darkly. It's like looking at a television screen and the pictures fluttering. The image is obscured by amorphous grayish waves and scattering, flickering dots. But is it a disease or is it a psychological condition? Doctors, according to the sparse literature, throw up their hands in frustrated confusion. They just don't know. And what can't be diagnosed is even more difficult to treat. But for the teenage Bryan Kohberger, if his online posts are any reliable guide, visual snow had at times buried his existence in an avalanche of despondency and desperation. His posts were calls from the wild. Some of Kohberger's most telling teenage posts give us a window into who he might become. We have voiced them over here.
October 29th, 2010. I have completely disconnected from reality. I feel all the time that I'm living in my own reality. It seems as if my brain chemistry is altered from this, even though I am certain it's not. First, I felt very uninterested in the things I usually like to do. But then it changed to the point I saw no reason for anything, and everything became boring to me. It feels at times completely disconnected. And as if I can't live like a normal person. When I think about my future, I think about how I will barely remember my mother and father, etc. Because I have an altered memory and also have been unable to think of them due to the 10 things I think about nonstop all at once. Visual snow, altered brain, tinnitus, disappointment, regret, etc. I think that possibly I could have brought this onto myself from post-traumatic stress disorder or something similar, but I can't tell what it is. I remember how it was before and remember that I felt like it before. It is all real bullshit. If I have any chemistry change, I have this detox program that can fix it. May 12th, 2011. I always feel as if I am not there, completely depersonalized. Mentally,
To me, it sounds like depression.
experience fog, lack of comprehension at some times. Feel like my life is a movie. Depersonalization,
Well, there's
depression, no interest in activity, constant thought of suicide, crazy thoughts, delusions of grandeur, anxiety, poor self-image, poor social skills, no emotion. I feel like nothing has a point to it. When I get home, I am mean to my family. This started when VS, or visual snow, did. I felt no emotion, and along with the depersonalization, I can say and do whatever I want with little remorse. Everyone hates me. Pretty much. I am an asshole. July 4th, 2011.
Do you think he was an asshole? I kind of do. I do.
I've had this
No offense
horrible
to him, but-
depersonalization go on in my life for almost 2 years. I often find myself making simple human interactions, but it is as if I'm playing a role-playing games such as Oblivion.
He talks about this role-playing game, Oblivion, a lot in this post. I need to look into that.
I can see what is going on. I am slightly into it, but I can pause the game and focus on my real life. In this case, my life is the game, and my old self can be reached by pausing the game. But how? I often think of things that humans do, things I've done my whole life. I feel like an organic sack of meat with no self-worth, as I'm starting to view everything as this. Everything I have ever done makes no sense. How did things get this way? How am I wearing this shirt? And who decided that humans shall wear shirts like this? Are we all just advanced animals with possession? Or is there more? More that I can't see. I can't connect. I view everything as if I would if I was playing Oblivion. Pointless and full of nothing, out of reality. I'm moving out of my house. My last holidays were already lived. But where was I? As my family group hugs and celebrates, I'm stuck in this void of nothing. Feeling completely no emotion. Feeling nothing. I feel dirty, like there is dirt inside my head, my mind. I'm always dizzy and confused. I feel no self-worth.
Okay, so the game is just like a role, like one of these, like these games. I don't know what console it's on, but it's basically, I don't know. I don't know what it exactly is supposed to be. We'll have to look that up. But the dude's just got a sword running around with it, unaliving people. So, and he talks about that a lot in here, like that Oblivion game. So,
I am intelligent, but I feel the opposite. I say things I don't mean. The last holiday in my house, the house I grew up in, the house I once contributed to, the house I once felt at home in, is past. As I hug my family, I look into their faces. I see nothing. It is like I'm looking at a video game, but less. I feel less than mentally damaged. It is like I have severe brain damage. I am stuck in the depths of my mind.
These posts paint a picture of a severely depressed, disturbed young man, riddled with pain, feeling himself, quote, slipping away from the bounds of normality, constantly burdened by visual snow and the sound of screaming. Torture. And it wasn't just the posts on Tapatalk. As Bloom lays out, there was also bristling anger uncovered by internet sleuths who have traced his teenage email to a posting on SoundCloud. 11 years ago, Kohberger's defiant moods took flight in a howling rap song. You are not my equal. You are evil, but I'm the devil, he challenges. Listen.
And your life, you get no sequel. Leave your loved ones crying like some seagulls. You are not my equal, you are evil, but I'm feeble. And now I'm going regal.
does he kind of sound like T-Rev when he's rapping?
Of course, Bloom writes, these posts and lyrics are the work of a teenager.
Oh,
More than a
thanks,
decade
Ashley.
has flown by since they were written. Nevertheless, perhaps the anguish posts and the ferocious song are also a warning. Out of work.
I'm not gonna lie, I do like watching those video games. Like people play them. I like watching people play them. I don't know why, but I do. Vincent doesn't play video games either, so I don't watch him. But I I don't know, watch it on like YouTube and stuff. I think it's fascinating.
Words come events. The future cannot exist without having been envisioned in the past. And
Oh, Micro Kimmy, you know you love that song. You know you have it on burn on a CD playing in your car. Do they burn CDs anymore? So can someone burn that on a CD for me?
one more puzzlement in this case must be confronted. Are these teenage thought dreams the intimations of an adult future? During high school, reports suggest Kohberger was a bit of a misfit and an outcast. He was overweight, and according to friends who knew him at the time, he fell into drugs, first marijuana and then heroin. He began focusing on eating healthier, found kickboxing, began to lose weight in the process. Here's high school friend Jack Bayless speaking to local NBC affiliate King 5 TV.
He was definitely heavier set, and that caused issues in school. I believe it was the weight loss first. And I was, I want to say 14 to maybe 16, between there was the big weight loss. I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And then it was the drugs. He got into drugs via an acquaintance of his. It was definitely heroin. It was pretty darn late.
But Kohberger was able to straighten his life out, or so it seemed. Whether his internal anguish ever abated is a much trickier question, as we discussed with Howard Bloom.
Everyone has talked about how he seems to be planning the murders so carefully, doing this and that. I think he was really spending the past year at least trying to overcome all his internal demons to not try to find a way to prevent himself from killing people. I mean, to this point, he's made a remarkable recovery from a young man, a teenager who used heroin. He's gotten into a junior college, then succeeds to get into college and wind up at a very reputable graduate school in criminal justice where he's a teaching assistant. He's doing everything. He's pushed his father out of his life. Now he's taking his father back into life. They're going to make a cross-country trip home for Christmas. He's doing all this, and at the same time, he knows who he is and how he will always be an outsider. And he's trying to find his way in, and he really can't. I think that's also an untold story, part speculation at this point that we want to try to get more of come June. This man who sees himself
when we
as
thought
someone
June
more
was the
sinned
trial
against than sinning, and that his life is in its way a horror story. It's also a tragedy too.
After Kohberger graduated high school, he went to college at DeSales University in Pennsylvania. He got his bachelor's degree in 2020 and a master's.
His hands were kind of purple there too, like talking about his hands being kind of weird, you know.
In its way, a horror
Might just
story.
be
It's also a
him.
tragedy too.
Let's see,
After Kohberger graduated high school, he went to college at DeSales University in Pennsylvania.
can't really see too much from here, but you can see his hands are like not. Oh, maybe he just doesn't get circulation right. That's pretty bad though. Like I remember when I was younger, my legs would like get kind of veiny when I would get cold. Like, and it was my mom would always say bad circulation, but I walked a lot, so I don't know. But it wasn't like that or anything. That's like purple.
He got his bachelor's degree in 2020 and a master's degree in criminal justice in 2022. One professor of his, Dr. Michelle Bolger, who advised Kohberger on his master's thesis in the criminal justice department at DeSales University, she's very well respected, told a Daily Mail reporter he was a brilliant student. Quote, in my 10 years of teaching, she raved, I've only recommended 2 students to a PhD program, and he was one of them. He was one of my best students ever, end quote. The Mysterious Case of Rudolph Diesel by Doug Brunt. It's officially a New York Times bestseller, as well as an Apple Book of the Year, an Audible Book of the Year. It's even been optioned for a movie. She
does the white and the red, and then I think
more from those who knew him, including friends and classmates.
He wanted to do something that impacted people in a good way. People are not his strong suit. And I think through his criminology studies, he was really trying to understand humans and try to understand himself. I think a lot of people who were close to him are feeling this massive amounts of guilt. Why didn't I see it? Did I miss something? Where did it go wrong?
He seemed very comfortable around other people. He was fairly quick to offer his opinion and thoughts, and he was always participating fairly eagerly in classroom discussions.
Does anything else come to mind that Bryan said to you in the past that today you think might be of interest?
There was a comment that he made, and it was just kind of a flippant guy talk thing. At one point, he just idly mentioned, I can go down to a bowl or a club and just have pretty much any lady I want. Looking back over the last 4 months is that I feel like there should have been signs that I should have seen, and I didn't. I was blindsided.
While Kohberger may have bragged about his luck with the ladies, no girlfriend has emerged at all from any point. One woman posted a TikTok about a date she says she had a single date with Kohberger, which did not go well. Watch.
We matched on Tinder. We talked for a couple hours, and then he was like, hey, you want to go to the movies with me tonight? And I was like, sure. We ended up going back to my dorm, and he kind of invited himself inside. He kept trying to touch me, not like inappropriately, just like trying to tickle me and like rub my shoulders and stuff. And I was like, why are you touching me, or what are you doing? And he would just like get super serious, and he's like, I'm not. And I'm like, you are though. And he's like, I'm not touching you.
Can just imagine. I mean, guy or girl, guys, come on, everybody, imagine. You're on a date. He kind of invites himself in, right? Or she invites themselves. Just say he or she, whichever it is. And then they start tickling you, right? And you say something about it, and they straight look at you and they say they didn't do it. Right then and there, alarms would be going off like crazy to me. Like, what do you mean you didn't touch me? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, she did the right thing, she got sick. She pretended like she got sick.
Kind of like
he was like, I didn't do that. Like, that's so crazy to me. Like, that is gaslighting. Like, I would be so freaking shocked. I would be like, yeah, you did. Like, I don't know. I would be like fighting with him. I wouldn't let that go.
Gaslight me into thinking, he didn't touch me, which is weird. But then I was like, I'm just gonna run to the bathroom quick, and he was like, okay. And then he followed me to the bathroom, which I thought was kind of weird.
That's
so
really
I
weird.
proceeded to pretend to throw up to get him to leave. He ended up messaging me on Tinder that he was gonna go, and I was like, awesome, my plan worked. And then about an hour later, he texted me and said I had good birthing hips.
Good birthing hips. What kind of? You could have said anything but that.
Some who observed him in his role as a teaching assistant saw a man anything but comfortable.
When he was standing in front of the class, it was like he was, in a box. He was very, uncomfortable, I guess. Like, it felt like he was perpetually uncomfortable.
Though Kohberger's online postings appeared to stop, those ones we went over when he was about 16, his criminal justice studies brought more public outreach, like the Reddit post from his time at DeSales asking for research participation from criminals. Some criminologists say it's pretty standard for the field to send things like this out, but still, it's chilling when you know what he would later be accused of. Hello, my name is Bryan, he writes, and I am inviting you to participate in a research project that seeks to understand how emotions and psychological traits influence decision-making when committing a crime. In particular, this study seeks to understand the story behind your most recent criminal offense, with an emphasis on your thoughts and feelings throughout your experience. In the event that your most recent offense was not one that led to a conviction, you may still participate. What sort of questions did Kohberger ask? Here's what was uncovered from the survey itself. Questions included the following. Did you struggle with or fight the victim? Did you prepare for the crime before leaving your home? Please detail what you were thinking and feeling at this point. How did you travel to and enter the location that the crime occurred? After arriving, what steps did you take prior to locating the victim or target? Please detail your thoughts and feelings. Why did you choose that victim or target over others? Before making your move, how did you approach the victim or target? Please detail what you were thinking and feeling. What was the first move you made in order to accomplish your goal? Please detail any thoughts and feelings at this point. How did you accomplish your goal? Please explain what you were thinking and feeling. Before leaving, is there anything else you did? How did you leave the scene? After committing the crime, what were you thinking and feeling? After DeSales, Kohberger moved west, a criminology doctoral student now at Washington State University. He began the program in the fall of 2022, mere months before the murders in the neighboring state. Almost immediately upon his arrival in Washington, he applied for an internship at the nearby Pullman Police Department. In the application essay, which Idaho cops later shared, Kohberger, with apparent self-affirming pride, wrote that he had an interest in assisting rural law enforcement agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data in public safety operations. So what should we make of Kohberger's interest in criminology and his attempts to work with local police? It's a question I asked CIA officer and expert in deception, Phil Houston, earlier this year.
In my mind, this fits into the category of what we call countermeasure behavior. So it's starting out, very early. What I mean by early is there's still a months off from a killing, but in his mind, he may well have had something in his mind that he was going to do that was bad. So joining the police department or having some connection by the police department in his mind might very likely have served two purposes. First of all, from the persuasion context, he's an insider now. Why would anyone look at him, immediately as the perpetrator?
I would look at him immediately if he fit the criteria and he was new. I would say, oh my gosh, look at the new guy that just came. He acts like he could be the guy. He's driving the same kind of car we're looking for. What do you mean? I think even if he got a job there, they still would have figured it out. Like, let's take Crystal Rogers' case, for instance. If you know her case, you know.
And then secondly, if he's inside, it's possible he may get some access to what's going on in the investigation, to details of the investigation that may give him some more early warning if the police do start to zero in on him.
It does not appear Kohberger ever landed that police internship. However, he did have a meeting with the chief of police. Inside Edition obtained an email exchange between Kohberger and Gary Jenkins, the top cop in Pullman, Washington at the time. Quote, "It was a great pleasure to meet with you today and share my thoughts and excitement regarding the research assistantship for public safety," wrote Kohberger. "Great to meet and talk to you as well," responded Jenkins. Jenkins would go on to take a job as the campus chief of police at Washington State University, the force that would later help identify Kohberger's vehicle as the one police believed was seen leaving the murder site that evening. After the
Wonder if he was like, damn. I didn't even think about that. I bet that officer was like, damn. Wow. I would be stunned. I would be so stunned.
the murders, Kohberger may have returned to an old habit, posting about himself online. You see, there was massive interest in this case online, and several reporters believe Kohberger himself was among the crew on social media openly discussing the case. One Facebook user named Papa Roger was a regular poster in a discussion group about the murders. One of his posts seemed to indicate he knew something about the circumstances of the murder, or at least took a very lucky guess. Quote, "Of the evidence released, the murder weapon has been consistent as a large fixed blade knife. This leads me to believe they found the sheath," he wrote. This was before there were public reports that police had indeed found the knife sheath inside that house. Meanwhile, on Reddit, in the Moscow Murders group, Moscow being the town where the killings took place, one user named Inside Looking seemed to have inside details about the method behind the murders. Quote, "Speculation," it began. Quote, "Killer parked behind the house, approached property through tree line, entered sliding door and left it open, committed murders and exited sliding door. One knife, according to the coroner's statement. Time of murder, approximately 3:20 a.m. to 3:40 a.m., according to car fleeing scene and on camera on Highway 8, approximately 3:45 a.m. Vehicle left skid marks upon exit," end quote. Since Kohberger was arrested and held without bail, Papa Roger and Inside Looking have not posted on Facebook or Reddit. Negative dings on credit reports happen to all sorts of people from all socioeconomic backgrounds. Understanding the credit landscape can be extremely...
Thank you, Frenchie, for being here for so long. Aw. I have to get more emojis. I told Vincent today. I was like, you got to do something. So I...
And a loved one to the bed.
What I did was I can't grab it. I'm knocking stuff over. I went and I got my old MacBook and I charged it so he could take this out like in the living room and get on my Canva. Because that's just, you just have to, like, we just use Canva to do them.
Best skincare.
But I want to do a bunch of new ones, so we'll do a members only live or something, and we'll just do a live or something, and we'll figure out which emojis to get.
To his head. His interactions with women were awkward and at times inappropriate, as we alluded to earlier. There were reports of him getting kicked out of a high school vocational law enforcement program after complaints from several girls, creepy interactions with women in college. And more recently, Dateline of NBC reported Kohberger befriended a female colleague at Washington State who contacted him after she thought someone had broken into her apartment. Kohberger helped her, reports NBC, by installing security cameras at her place. According to Dateline, authorities believed it was Kohberger himself who had broken into that apartment and that he installed the cameras so that he would be able to spy on this young woman, or perhaps something even more sinister. Former FBI criminal profiler Candace DeLong was a guest on his program in January 2023, and she had this to say about Kohberger and women.
One of the things I find interesting and possibly telling, a lot of female friends from high school, college, and even recently in his grad program talk about him, various things to say. No former girlfriend or former intimate person has come forward, possibly because, it could be, oh my gosh, was I wrong to be involved with this guy? But I wonder if he simply hasn't had an intimate relationship, a romantic relationship. And the reason I think that is, without question, this was a targeted murder. And one of the victims, the two blondes, was brutalized, stabbed many more times than the other one. I think she was probably the target. One of the things that I think of regarding, motivation was this motive. There was no sexual assault, but there was certainly
After we watched this, I found a video of the day of the crime. Somebody took like a short video. I don't ever remember seeing it. So I'll show it to you guys whenever we're done.
Display of anger and rage and possibly revenge. There are many murders, and it's happening more lately, by men murdering women in this way. Anger, multiple stab wounds. It's rarely a gunshot. It's stabbing someone, of course, is in their face, personal, I hate you, that kind of thing. And that's what we see here. So I am wondering if there's actually a term for it, Megyn, and it's incel, which stands for involuntarily celibate.
So no lovers that we know of, never mind girlfriends. But what of his family? His mother, Marianne, worked at the same local school district as his father. She was an aide for special needs students. He has two older sisters, Amanda and Melissa, the latter of whom was a mental health therapist. Some reports indicate that both sisters were fired from their jobs after Bryan's arrest. And what about his father, the maintenance worker, the one who flew out to make that long trip across the country with Bryan as the FBI was tracking him? More here from my interview with Howard Bloom.
Here's his father. He's 67 years old, doesn't have a ton of money. Clearly, he's a janitor. He's been bankrupt twice. He's going to fly out first you got to go to Seattle. Then you got to fly on another flight into Washington, Pullman, go across country, and then you're going to quickly make a turnaround. And he's looking, I think, and this is what people told me, to try to get back, make amends with his son. Say, you were on the wrong path. I tried to set you right. There was a great deal of antagonism between us, but now things are hunky-dory. This is a bright future. You're going to have a good paying job. You're going to be a professor. All things are good. Little does he know, what's going on in his son's world. I think this trip across America, his father to son journey, is the center of its own interesting little drama.
That trip took Bryan back to his childhood home, to the place where police would ultimately arrest him. Reports were that upon making their dynamic entry, police found Kohberger awake just before 1:30 a.m., wearing rubber gloves and packing his trash into Ziploc bags. He did not resist, and the police effected a search of the premises. From his parents' home, police recovered a cell phone, a laptop, 2 containers of a green leafy substance, along with black face masks, a black hat, and several.
Do you think the green leafy substance was weed? I'm assuming it was. Like, what else would it be? I mean, but he is a vegetarian. Could it be like salad mix? I don't know.
Articles of dark colored clothing, along with a book with underlining on page 118, as well as a Glock 20.
Yeah, I want to know about that. Okay, so the book with the underlining page of 118, do you guys think that could be the manifesto of Elliot Rogers? Like that book. I mean, it says a book, and that was a manifesto, so it was more like paper. But I mean, if it was bound together, I mean, they could consider it like a book.
Me too. 40 caliber handgun and empty magazines. They also found a Smith & Wesson.
I don't really know. I care about the handgun so much. I mean, well, I kind of do, but I don't. Just for the fact that, I feel like a lot of people have guns in Pennsylvania. Maybe not so much handguns, though.
Pocket knife and more. Back at Kohberger's student residence in Washington State, police searched as well, retrieving a stained mattress cover, a computer tower,
devil's
various
lettuce.
receipts, the dust container from a Bissell Power Force vacuum cleaner,
The dust
a fire.
container. They got the dust container. Why did he leave the dust container? Did he forget to throw it away? That's the most important part of the vacuum cleaner. If you're going to want something for evidence, that's where everything he was sweeping, he didn't empty it and he swept up his apartment, I don't know.
Fire TV stick with a cord and plug and what's described as one possible animal hair strand. His childhood home and his graduate student housing, both poured through by police looking for any clue as to why, how, anything tying Kohberger to this crime. The home of his boyhood unhappiness and the adult home to what seemed a new kind of grievance and a freedom now to act on it. Retired FBI profiler James Fitzgerald.
Ted Kaczynski was about the same age when he launched his first bomb in Chicago, and 4 of them right after that. Some people, it takes longer to mature in terms of their criminal sophistication or devolve in terms of their psychological disorders. And I'm not clinically saying that. So who knows exactly what happened? I think a big factor with BK is that I think he grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania. I'm from Philadelphia originally. I know that area. He went to school a little bit away from there.
Me
But
too.
look what he finally did at the age of 28 or so. He travels 2,500 miles across country. He's far away now, finally, from the tentacles of his parents, of his familial upbringing, the home, the neighborhood where he grew up. And he may be thinking for the first time, I am finally on my own. I can do what I want. I don't have any daily reporting or weekend reporting to any parents or authority figures. This is my opportunity. It doesn't mean he moved out there consciously to kill 4 people. It's just that it was a Jupiter aligning with Mars, with a few other planets in there, and of course, not in a good way. We have really this, I say, hodgepodge or mishmash of all kinds of personality issues finally coming together for him. And again, for some people, that happens in a good way. You know what? I'm finally going to college. I'm finally going to join the military, graduate school, whatever. This guy, it was about paying back, sort of as we call it, a grievance collector. Some psychologists use that term. All these grievances that built up, the foundations were laid of brick by brick by brick, and it's finally hit sort of this crescendo in of all places, Moscow, Idaho, and this aligns at the same time. And these poor 4 victims are the ones to pay the price for his the alleged grievances placed against him.
Grievance and perhaps the related emotion of envy. We're going to get to that soon. Of course, this all presumes that Kohberger is in fact guilty. But what if? What if? Next episode, the prosecution's case against Bryan Kohberger, plus Kohberger's defense. It may be better than you think. We'll see you tomorrow.
Oh, she's done. Let me turn my camera back on. There I am. I hate that you can't really see my shirt. Well, you can kind of now. But then my little name comes up and it's like, bam, can't see it anymore. Okay, so I was cruising on X. Said it right. I just wanted to see what the newest posts were for Bryan Kohberger. And I saw this and I don't remember ever seeing this video. So let me know if y'all have and I'll play it. I'll play it a couple times because it's only 13 seconds. But it says a new video has surfaced in the Idaho 4 case. I don't know if this is new per se, but it's new to me. I don't think I've ever seen it. And if I did, I don't remember seeing this, and that's really not like me to not remember, So let me know if you guys have seen this. Okay, is the volume up yet? I'll let it play a couple times.
Wait, whose dog is it? Kaylee's. Wait, whose dog is it? Kaylee's.
See, I don't see where the dog is, but I do see the people up on the hill that were all huddled together. If you see right here is all the people. I don't know if you can see my little thing. I think you can, maybe. I don't know if you can see yeah, you can. You can see my little cursor. This right here by the trash can is a group of people sitting down on the ground. I believe those are the people that found the victims. And they're sitting there because they're going to be questioned. They're not allowed to leave the scene yet. Just sit over here. We'll be with you when we can get with you. We've got 4 dead people in this house and you're not going anywhere. One of those things. But they say Kaylee's dog, but I don't see the dog unless they just saw it getting put in the back of a car or something.
Wait, whose dog is it? Kaylee's.
Like, do you see the dog? I don't see the dog. But the dog was very small. And the pink sweater, oh man. Yeah, I've showed the close up a long time ago, like of this picture. But yeah, that's it's sad. It's really sad. Why does she have a close up of it? Because she's like usually on the opposite of what things are. Like if things are going one way, she goes the other. He was very insecure when he was overweight, I think, too. I think so too. Yeah, Harley Ryder. Well, they said when he was at the pool party, he walked up to those two girls and asked for their numbers and they gave it to him. Maybe that was the first time that he ever did that, though. The dog was still in the room. Yeah, no, they according to the PCA, they found the dog and locked into the room in Kaylee's room. We actually just talked about it the other night. We went over pages 1 through 7 of the PCA. I think I could probably recite that without even looking at the PCA at this point. At least pages 1 through 7. I feel like we've hit those pages a lot. But yeah, I never remember seeing this video. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, I wanted to show you that. I think that's all I have for you guys. Yeah, it is. So basically, they're saying that they are going to unseal Bryan's mental health records along with his family's. We'll see if that happens when it happens. I will keep refreshing the page over on the Idaho website, the judicial website, just see if anything pops up. And then if something does, I'll come right on and let you guys know. And then we watched, a couple episodes, a couple videos to get into the mind of, Bryan Kohberger, what he was thinking like before he became who he kind of became, or who he is becoming. We don't know. I mean, he's innocent until proven guilty in the United States. That's what we say over here. But tomorrow, like I said, Ellen Greenberg, that's huge news. I cannot believe they switched her case from suicide to homicide. Like, that's incredible. And we'll, dive into that case again, and I'll give you guys all the details. We'll go over the timeline and all of that stuff. That way, if you guys don't know that case at all, you're going to want to make sure you're here, because this case is really, really, really crazy. They found this woman with 20 stab wounds to her back, and they ruled it a suicide. And her boyfriend, we don't know, but I wonder how he's feeling. Wonder how he's feeling right now. I'd be a little nervous. If I was him. But it's going to be really good, I think so. But make sure that you guys stay safe tonight. It is a cruel, cruel world out there. Make sure your curtains are shut, your windows are locked, your doors are locked, all the things. You got your guard dogs. I got my 2 guard dogs. They're back here sleeping. They're just sleeping. We're redoing the studio. So if you guys have any ideas on what you think would be cute to see in here, let me know. But what I'm thinking is, I'll tell you what my plan is so far. Well, I got to figure out where I'm going to put my walking pad, but I'm going to remove this fireplace and put like a table up there, like a long table, like a lighter wood maybe, or like not like a light wood, but like an in between. And then I'm getting an olive tree to put over on the other side of the sign. So there'll be like a little olive tree there and a big like cement pot. And then I'm going to get a round rug for in here, because I used to have that square one, but I want to do like a round one. I used to have one. I threw it away. I shouldn't have thrown it away. There was nothing wrong with it, other than it was just, we were getting rid of everything. We were getting new stuff. I don't know. But I'm keeping the chair, and we're going to move the chair, make it into more like a podcast. Like over here, I'm going to have like it's set up to where I can do pre-recorded videos. I'm going to get a better like a really good wireless mic, and have like my stuff all set up over there, like lights and stuff. So you'll see that kind of in the background. And then we're going to get more studio lights for up here, so you guys can see me even better, because why not? And I think we're going to get like a new lens for the camera and stuff. So just like little things, but it's going to make the channel a lot better. And that's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to make the experience a little better for you guys. And I just really I needed when you need like a revamp, I need a revamp. So I'm writing down all the stuff that I would need. And Vincent's like, wow. I said, this was like my dream, so that's why I tell him, oh, Midwest, you've been a member for 5 months. Next month, you get your rainbow arm. Thank you so much for being a member for so long. It's good to see you. So good to see you. You're running late for everything today. Me too. Actually, don't feel bad. But thank you guys for being here tonight. I'll be back tomorrow. And then I did kind of change the count, or I don't know if you guys noticed, but I did change the intro again. I just changed the countdown a little bit. The other one was blue. I don't know. It didn't really go with it, but now I don't know if one of the other things go with it. So I may change it again. You never know. But thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Bye, guys. Oh, and don't forget, I may go live on my second channel tomorrow, early afternoon, to make chili. If you guys want to come and hang out with me while I make chili. So see you guys later. Have a good night. Bye, guys.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We